And welcome to Two Steps Ahead podcast, where we like to highlight the shit we've stepped in so you don't have to. My name is Son Edom, alongside my guest,
Tara Shiro. How are you?
And we'd like to welcome you to the show. Now, one of the things that I like about the fall time of the year is the holidays. It goes by really quick, the fall does.
It does.
And we just finished the Halloween season, and I've noticed a couple things about Halloween.
Okay.
One, the costumes get scarier and more gruesome, maybe graphic, or they're getting more sexy, more racy, which I like even better. I'll take the sexy racy over the scary gruesome stuff.
You like the sexy racy.
Yeah, so I was just curious, as a woman, from a woman's point of view, what is your thoughts on these racy, or just dress in general, I guess? But let's start with the Halloween costumes, the sexy nurse, the French maid. Let me tell you a story real quick as we get started, if I may.
Yes, you may.
Okay, this was, I think, the standard, not the standard, but like maybe the standard for this conversation. 7th grade,
Okay.
I was in junior high. I was invited to a Halloween party. I kind of liked this girl. I guess she liked me because I got invited to the party.
Okay.
Well, it turned out that I show up, I knock on the door, and I remember this vividly. I mean, like vividly. I could close my eyes and relive this moment. And I knock on the door, and she opens the door. Now, keep in mind, she's in 7th grade, so perverts, get your minds out of the gutter. She opens the door, and she's in a French maid costume. My jaw hit the floor. I mean, she looked really good. Okay, and I liked her too on top of it. But it was 7th grade. It was tasteful. It was nothing sleazy. There was, everything was covered up.
Okay.
So it was just a French maid outfit. I remember at that moment the impact of that Halloween costume, the way she looked. Now, it turned out that night it was kind of a setup because she did like me back, 7th grade, and her friend was there, and she liked my other friend. So it became a night, basically a double date at her parents' house.
Okay.
And it was the night where we're sitting there and, we're just realizing that we kind of all like each other, the four of us. And so we watched the movie Creepshow, and we pretend to get scared. So we have to hold hands and, do that type of puppy love stuff,
Were the parents home, by the way?
I never saw them. I have no idea. At that point, didn't care. I trusted myself more than I trusted anybody else. So, 7th grade.
Okay. Okay.
And so, but I remember it was a fun night, but all I can remember is her in her French maid outfit.
So what did that do to you? What was the impression that it made on you?
Oh, I liked it. I liked her even more because it was, she looked good. She was a beautiful girl at 7.
7th grade.
7th grade. I'm sorry. Yeah, not 7 years old. 7th grade. And I don't know, it was a fun night, and I just remember the impact that costume had, and it was a lot of fun. We high school or middle school dated for 6 weeks or whatever it was, and that was it. And then it ended. But I remember that impact. And so now, fast forward to more recent times, and you take a look at the Halloween costumes that are out there, and you go through the stores and you see the sexy nurses and the naughty nurses and the sexy maids outfits and the animal prints and things like that become even more sexier. And to a certain extent, I like it. I think it's okay. I think that women, if you want to kind of explore, or maybe I'm kind of one that if you've got it, flaunt it. If it's true, it ain't bragging to a certain degree. Okay. So if it's something that fits and you want to, and you have the persona and the confidence to wear it to a certain degree, obviously there's appropriate places for wearing it. If you're with a kid's party, maybe not. But if you're at an adult party, okay, maybe. So I'm all for it. So I was just wondering, from your perspective as a woman, is it exploitation? Is it okay? Do you have a problem with it? What do you think of the next generation of girls coming up? Should they dress that way? Is your blood boiling yet?
Yes. Yes. Where do I start? So, okay. So Halloween are costumes, first of all. So it's a hair different than normal everyday clothes. But I think for women, it is so hard, whether we're talking about Halloween costumes or regular clothes, because on one hand, we want to be respected for our personality, for our brains, for our skills and our knowledges at work and our professional life and the things. But then there's also nature that created us to have these curves and to be, and we're all visual creatures. We're all very highly visual. And so there's a part of us as women that want to attract the opposite sex. And then, so we dress a certain way. But then there's another part of us that we don't want to have that as our sole way of acceptance and validation. And so we kind of walk this fine line of, this outfit is really great. I'm rocking it. I look really hot. I can tell people are looking at me. I killed it. But then is that really what we're after at the end of the day? Sometimes, unfortunately, yes. But so it's like this it's hard to answer because ask me another question.
So it comes down to, do you want to be respected for your brains or your boobies?
Well,
or is it a combination of both?
Since my boobies are two different sizes, I would say I would have to be respected for my brains.
Well, no, because
and I'm old; they're hanging down to my hips. But
that's the thing. It's like you think about it. Okay, is there a place then in society, in the business world, where you can be respected for your brain plus your looks? Or is it one or the other? Because you talk about people, sleeping their way to the top. Mm-hmm. Okay. You talk about the, in the radio business, salespeople go out and they sell. They sell advertising. Okay. And you've seen women that are really good looking sales ladies and they dress professionally, yet a little bit showy. Mm-hmm. And they're always coming back with a signed deal. Now, if a guy had that same account and he pulls up in his suit and tie, would he get the same? That's kind of the thing. And so there is a bad rap with women sales women and the way they look, getting an account versus a guy, because there could be that extra she's showing a little goods to get the deal or whatever. Mm-hmm. So is there a line between being respected for your looks or for your brains, your business prowess, whatever the case may be, your abilities in the working world over how you look?
I think there is I personally don't think that they should be mixed. Honestly, I don't think that they should be mixed when you're in the workplace, because to your own admission, when women look nice and they look hot, that's what you're thinking about. And they're not thinking about necessarily the business deal or necessarily what is going on, what is the best solution for the problem or the best solution for the workplace. And so I think at work, in order for us all to maintain a level of composure and dignity and integrity, I personally would not choose to do that. Now, was there a time in my younger days that I've never been one to really let stuff hang out, so I'm not that way anyway, but I don't, I'm much more conservative now than what I used to be. The place that I work with now has a bunch of men out in the back, and so I'm very aware of what I wear because I don't want people to be off track. Not that I'm all that, but guys are easy and
So you're not going to come into work rocking the little black dress?
No.
High heel pumps?
Actually, I do have a little black dress that I wear when it's 110 degrees outside, but not the pumps. But
so in 110 degree weather, we know where to show up.
It's a very conservative, up to the neck, sleeveless, above the knee, but it's very conservative. But I look cute, but.
Own it if you do.
Not at work. I don't want to own it.
Right. Okay.
Like not in the professional. I don't want to own it. Like, because it gets convoluted, because that's where I think we invite things when we are showing things at work and we are showing our sexy side at work. We are inviting an affair. We are inviting comments. We are inviting people to look at us. And that's where we were talking about in the last show, these little decisions that we make, that when we agree to wear certain clothes around certain people, we are inviting comments or inviting things that could take us off the wrong track. Now I'm also very aware when I'm around couples, and I have had many occasions where I've been around people and the man will look me up and down, and then the wife gets so mad. And so I'm really aware of what I try to be aware of what I wear around other people in those situations, because I don't want that, kind of attention. But, sometimes guys just, even at church, I've had people say things to me at church. I've had things, it's crazy the places where men have made comments to me or approached me or propositioned me or, just stared at me. My son was telling me he and I were flying somewhere a few months ago, and I didn't notice it because I just tuned things out. But he was behind me in the ticket line, and I guess there was this guy that was looking at me, and my son did his whole and he kind of like got in front of me, and he's just staring the guy down like, what do you? And I'm like, dude, like
But doesn't it make you feel good? Well, to be noticed by somebody else, even though that may be creepy, that some stranger in the airport is checking you out, but doesn't it make you feel good too that you look good enough to attract at least the attention of somebody based on your looks?
Okay, so we are getting into an area that I really did not want to talk about, but we're going to have to. So
this is the shit we've stepped in, and we're trying to avoid others from doing the same thing. So
so we are about to step in some shit. Okay. So I can't even talk.
Well, let me put it this way. Okay, while you collect your thoughts. Okay, go ahead. Okay.
So I have had people notice me ever since I was about 13. So I tune it out. I seriously don't think that I'm all that, but I've had my fair share of looks in my direction, right? So it's kind of the way, and now also keep in mind that around 13-ish was also the time that there was affairs going on in my parents' marriage. There were control issues going on. There was a lot of pretense. And so my emotional development at that time was that I did not feel, now I know my parents loved me. They took great care of us. It's this, but because of the affairs, I felt like, okay, somebody out there is better than me and someone out there is better than us. So I'm not good enough and I'm not worthy enough to be loved. That's kind of like the mixed message that I developed at a young age. So couple that with the fact that I'm starting to be noticed and I'm starting to get paid attention to, that was like a magnet for me to get my validation and to get my self-esteem. So much so, and yes, it did feel really good, and it does feel really good to be noticed, but I took it to a level that when I walked out of the house, I would not even go to the mailbox without makeup on and without my lipstick on. My kids were born. My mom was putting lipstick, on me when I'm having contractions, and my daughter's literally coming out. And I took it to a level that was my facade and that was my protection. And so I would purposely go out of my way to look good. And then when people noticed me and then men would look at me or whatever, I would say, oh, okay, I hit the mark and I got the validation. And if someone didn't notice me, then I would be, oh, I must not have done something right. I must not be wearing the right outfit. This must not be my color. Because I was so insecure. That's the point I want to make. I was so deeply insecure and so concerned about what everybody thought of me. I had very little going on the inside. So it was the outside that I had to dress up, and I would purposely, especially if I was going to be around a group of women and I didn't feel like I was going to be accepted by those women, and it wasn't them, it was me because I was insecure, I would purposely dress up and wear clothes that would make them go, ooh, she's got it all together. I have nothing in common with her. I'm going to walk the other way. It was a great defense mechanism because then I didn't have to talk to anybody. People had this false impression that I had it all together, which I didn't, and they would leave me alone, and I could sit there and by myself and then leave and not really have to interact with people and expose the fact that I was so broken inside and so lonely and so desperate for love. And so when you talk about the way that women dress, there's this weird, sometimes women are confident and they wear outfits and they rock it and they look great. Other times women do that specifically because they're so empty and we need the attention. And that's a way to get immediate attention and immediate gratification, and so it's like that immediate, yep, I'm okay, I'm in there. And which is so wrong, but that's sometimes the way that it is.
Because sometimes you'll go out, like I'll go out and hit the town, and because I'm hip and cool that way, and there'll be women dressed to impress. Mm-hmm. But the but is, if it's not hanging out of her skirt, is that if they get the attention from the right person, mm-hmm. then it's okay. But if they get the attention from the wrong guy, mm-hmm. then that guy's like a creep, a perv, whatever. But she's getting the attention that she was seeking just from not the right guy. Does that make sense? Is that something that would be for like a guy? Okay, I'm out, I see a gal, I might want to go talk to her. And maybe she's not attracted to me, that's fine. And so then she like rebuffs my approach or whatever. But then some other guy comes up and she's like, yeah, okay. So the guy that, let's say me, if I get rejected, I walk away, I don't care, not worth my time. But others might get like hurt or whatever, and then they cause a scene type of thing, and become problematic for the gal that night. Okay, for example, I was out during Halloween, and I was at a place, and of course, all the women were dressed very sexy and very revealing, and one gal showed up literally as a Victoria's Secret angel mm-hmm. in her underwear, lingerie,
oh, gosh.
And she was getting a lot of attention, and unwanted attention. So her friends had to step in and kind of, have a barrier between her on the dance floor and these guys that were approaching, mm-hmm. especially as the alcohol flowed, mm-hmm. the more attention she would get. Mm-hmm. And so two thoughts came to mind. One, what the hell are you thinking? Mm-hmm. Because that's what you're going to get from a guy's perspective. If you show up in lingerie from Victoria's Secret or any lingerie for that matter, mm-hmm. it could be Target for all I care, you're going to get the attention from every guy in the room. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have to be ready for that unwanted guy attention. Mm-hmm. Two, guys are very visual. So if they see something like that, you're going to be the queen bee and everyone's right. going to pay attention to you.
Right.
So it's like, my question then to you is, what is the purpose, or do you even know from your perspective as a woman, of someone dressing like a Victoria's Secret angel, going to a party and then having alcohol involved in that party, which heightens everybody's senses and makes everybody irrational anyways, and then try to rebuff and get mad and pissed off at guys that are approaching her because they're not the right guy. Mm-hmm. See, and that's what I don't understand. It's like, you want the attention. Great, you'll get the attention. But why is it if you get the attention from the wrong guy, why is that a bad thing and the guy's a dick versus, oh, this is some hunky dude that's hitting on me, then I'm going to go home with him? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the behavior that you're describing is very passive aggressive. And I would say that person is passive aggressive in life in general. And it showed up at the Halloween, party. You can't show up in lingerie and then complain that you're getting attention that you don't want. It just doesn't work that way. So she probably is very passive aggressive in regular life. A lot of times, was this a younger,
Yeah, I would imagine she was probably definitely a millennial, but in her 20s. Yeah,
in her 20s. Yeah. Because what I've noticed is that, and I think I was this way too. It was a long time ago since I was in my 20s, but what I've noticed is that a lot of girls in their 20s, what people don't realize is that females dress up for other females. We have this culture that in the female side of life, and it's awful, but it's just the way that it works, that if we are in a room with all the females are going to check each other out, and we're going to examine everything that we're wearing, and we're going to decide whether or not that person is in or out based on what they're wearing. It's awful that we do that. But we do. And so that's why there's, it's a lot of this insecurity. Like, you come into a room, it's like, oh my gosh, everyone's looking at me. Sometimes, no one's looking at you. You're too self-absorbed. But the reality is that if a woman walks into a room and there's other women in there, we are all going to look at her outfit and see what she's wearing and decide whether or not she's in or out with the outfit. So women and girls especially, we dress up for each other. And a lot of times the younger girls don't understand what it does to guys when they see them. They're dressing up for each other and they're like, oh, you're so cute. And you look really cute. But then they don't understand that there's older guys, even guys their age, they don't understand necessarily what it's doing to them. And the gymnastics sometimes that guys have to go through to control themselves, to not approach, to not be rude, to not have a comment, to not say, you know, because sometimes even in this day and age, it's like, you know, you look really hot and the girl just like gets offended and she wants to, you know, bring you up on sexual harassment. So it's very confusing to guys, and girls don't get that, the younger girls. And I have said repeatedly to some of the younger girls, because there's the shorts that girls wear right now where their bottom of their cheek is hanging out. And they think that that's okay. They don't understand that, or when they're at a pool and they're wearing a thong, they just don't understand what it does to a guy's mind. He is already in bed with them. Right? He's already like, ooh, that's a nice, and then he's just like going down that road. They don't understand that. They're just in this little huddle with themselves, and they think they look cute with each other, and they're not understanding the bigger picture and the bigger impact that they're having. And, you know, I've said, you know, gosh, the shorts are too short, and they just laugh at me or think that I'm, you know, old fashioned or whatever. But it's that bigger picture of guys. There was somebody, you know, I've told you I worked on set several times. I was working on a TV show, and one of the stand-ins and I were having this conversation, and he was mad. He's like, I don't understand. He's like, women get dressed up and then you tell them that they look nice, and then there's I'm going to, you know, sue you for sexual harassment. So, I mean, as a guy, is it confusing to you? Is it like, how do you? Yeah,
it can be. I have the rule that I'll say nothing to nobody. I don't. I mean, because you can't in this day and age. Right. The Me Too movement. Now, first off, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole because it's a completely different conversation, but sexual harassment should never take place to begin with. And to have a Me Too movement and to take a Me Too movement for it to come out should have never been. It should have been able to have been come out way back when. Mm-hmm. But the Me Too movement has also made everybody hypersensitive and hyper nuts about it. So you walk in the room and I say, oh, I like the way you cut your hair today, or hey, that's a nice dress. And I'm just being complimentary, or hey, I like your shoes, because I know women are all into shoes. That's very complimentary, but they can take it as like, oh, he's harassing me. Mm-hmm. So now I don't say nothing. Mm-hmm. They walk in the room, I'm like, sit down, shut the hell up, and we're going to learn today. Because I teach at Pasadena City College. No, but it's hard to say something to anybody, whether it be a student, a coworker, somebody out on the street, whatever. And so sometimes what I'll do is I will literally make a purposeful intention with a stranger to say something. Because if they get mad at me, well, who cares? Right. And say something, hey, you look nice today. Hey, that's a nice dress. Hey, nice shoes, or something, just to see what the reaction would be. Mm-hmm. Because I'm curious as to what it is. Because I'm thinking sometimes, okay, hey, you got a nice smile. Maybe that makes their day, because maybe they're having a down day. So a compliment can make the day for them. But then on the flip side, maybe, hey, I like those shoes. Well, now they're snarky and they're going to be mad because I'm harassing them. Or maybe I say nice hair, nice dress. Here's a story I'll tell you, which maybe I shouldn't, but I'm going to do it anyways.
And I personally, I personally don't mind it when I don't get all quirked up when people say that. And maybe it's because that's just the way that I've grown up and I'm used to it, and I don't really pay that much attention to it. But I'm not one of those women that get all quirked up, you know, because somebody says something.
So if I sit here and look you up and down, that's creepy, or is that okay?
That I would have an issue with. Okay. That I would have an issue with.
Well, okay, here's my story. Okay, we're talking about dress and attention.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to just briefly tell a story. It has to do with cosmetic surgery. Okay, this girl that used to work at a radio station I worked at got her boobs done, got a boob job. Now, I know, because a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, his sister got them done. And people that get breast augmentation, get their boobs done, they want people to notice them. Okay. So I was walking with another guy who was guest hosting a show, and I knew this girl just a little bit because I had a little bit of interaction, and I told the guy, go, watch this. So I walk up to the desk, and she's sitting there, and I'm like, we're waiting to get some ticket validation for parking. And I said, hey, you got your boobs done. They look great. And the guy was mortified, thinking that this is going to be the end of this guy's career. And she looks at me and she's like, oh, do you like them? They're wonderful. And she's going on and on and on. And like, you know, it was just like bizarre that I like noticed that she got bigger boobs, and that I commented on them. And afterwards, you know, and that was it. All I said was one thing, you know, hey, you got your boobs done, look nice. But the point was, she wanted the attention because she got them done. And because I said something, whether or not I should have, that's another topic of conversation. But because I said something, she was actually felt good because someone noticed that she got this done. So when we're walking away and I was walking the guy to his car, he was like, dude, I cannot believe you said that. Why did you say that? And my thought was, well, I figured she was the type of gal that would probably appreciate the comment because she got them done. And she went from like, the turtleneck shirts, whatever, to more of the cleavage looking shirts. So obviously she was flaunting, her masterpiece. And so, but that's the type of thing. It's like, there's, like you were talking about, there's a purpose why women dress up and do the things they do, because they want to look good. They want to feel confident. They want to feel comfortable in their skin. If they don't like something, I'm sure they want to change it, whether it's lose weight, bigger lips, whatever the case may be. But it's also one of those things where they probably just want to also be attractive to other people. They want to feel good for themselves, but they also want to be able to be attractive to other people. Maybe it's just platonically, like I want to walk into the office and feel confident about the way I look. Or maybe it's, I want to dress a certain way so I can attract a guy. Mm-hmm. But there's going to be some sort of response that you get from a guy depending on how you dress.
There is. So, wow. Right. So I think to your comment to the girl, you obviously have to know, it would be helpful to know someone and have some sort of a relationship to know how far you can take a comment or not. Because sometimes people have cancer. Sometimes people have other things going on that they have to have a breast augmentation, and it's not simply cosmetic. Sometimes it is cosmetic. But here's the thing too, is that the women, we feel less than if our body is a certain way, because we don't get as much attention as what somebody else might get. And then it makes us feel less of a person. And that's the part that I have a real issue with. I know a lot of women have a real issue with, because every time we turn on the television, there's perfect news anchors, there's perfect women. The magazines are all full of perfect women. We can't get away from it. And so there's this perception that that's the standard. I'm really glad that they're coming out with plus size models, with disabled models, with, all different types of, I forget the soap commercial that coming out with people have skin things going on, because we're so fixated on the physical beauty, and we're so fixated on measuring people by their physical beauty, that it causes women to feel like, if I don't have a certain size chest, and I even went through that, there was a time in my life I'm like, oh, I'm getting old and droopy and maybe I should do that. I didn't. My husband was like, don't even think about it. I like you just the way that you are. But yeah, there was a time when I thought about it. And again, I was very insecure at that time. So there's this pressure of women to look physically good. And when we compliment each other, we often compliment each other on our physicality, as opposed to, hey, you did a great, job on that project, or hey, you're smart, or, whatever. We have a tendency not to, that's just a given, right? We just a given that you do your job, but I'm going to compliment you on your hair, your makeup, your clothes, your shoes, your, whatever. And so it can feel sometimes like we are walking enticements, sometimes, and not for much else. It can feel that way sometimes. And so then on your other comment, like sometimes, like there are people who just get up and take a shower and put on clothes and makeup and they look, phenomenal, and they're not even really trying. And then there's other people that like go, to extra lengths to kind of get into that measuring up. So there's all kinds of reasons, but, and then there's women that I've run across that flat out refuse to wear makeup or have any kind of hair because they do not want to be judged by it. So they walk around, very plain. It's complicated.
Yeah, I'm the type of person that wakes up and just naturally looks good. I don't need the makeup and all that. Okay,
I hate you.
Here's another thing. Okay, now you've done some work with strippers in the the strip clubs and stuff. Reaching out to them.
I wasn't a stripper.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, no, you weren't a stripper, but you've been in strip clubs.
Yes, many.
Helping.
Yes.
Or at least trying to reach out to the women that do perform.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I've never really frequented it because I always thought it was a waste of money, personally, but I'm not opposed to if people want to do that. But I've heard that a lot of strippers will get their breasts done because the larger the boobs, the bigger the tips, okay, and the more work they get, and so on and so forth. So with you having been in that environment and kind of talked to the women, probably at the level that you have that guys can't, How's that experience? Like, what are those women kind of going through? I mean, are they happy that they've done that? Is that something that they're kind of peer pressured into because that's the job they're doing? I mean, is that the gratification or the satisfaction that they're looking for in that? Because obviously they're doing it for the purpose of attracting the male attention to get the more money.
Yeah. The whole thing is actually really sad. The women that work there are a lot of them that we went into let me back up. So we go into the strip clubs, we go into the dressing room where the girls are, and they are preparing for their evening, or they're coming back and forth between their particular set. And we bring them goodie bags. We bring them, candies and gifts, grooming gifts or whatever. And the purpose of that was to go in and have a conversation with them so that we could come alongside them in real life and offer them help, in any way that we could, support and whatever. So Treasures actually is a really great group in the Valley that does that. And so the women that we encountered, it wasn't really, the breast augmentation was kind of like an afterthought or a non-issue. It's a very sad environment. A lot of them were on drugs. A lot of them were high when we would go in there, or drunk, just to get through the night. A lot of them are stuck there. We heard stories that people are putting themselves through school. I'm only here long enough to pay for my tuition, and then I'm going to stop. But then they ended up getting sucked in, or they get recruited by filmmakers, and then they go on to make pornography, and then their life just goes down and down and down and down and down. It's a myth that the women want to be there. They may start out by thinking this is a good idea, but they quickly learn that it's not. So yeah, there are things that women do while they're there to get bigger tips. Some of them take dancing lessons. Some of them get their breasts done. Some of them, get their hair done, and they do different things or whatever to try and, get the more tips. But it's a very sad environment. I've also been to the porn convention in Las Vegas twice, and working a booth there. And it was crazy because it was like this big pink backdrop, and it said Jesus loves porn stars, and people would be like, "Oh, you mean Jesus loves pornography?" Be like, "No, but he loves the people. He loves everybody." And so we were very low key in talking to people. We had some great conversations with people. We were not telling them to stop. We were not telling them, trying to shut the place down. We were very respectful of where we were, but a lot of, especially at the porn convention, it was just people are allowed to walk around pretty much, not completely in Vegas, but pretty much close to naked as you can be, walking all over the place. And so, yeah, there was a lot of things that they would do to attract attention to themselves. But these are people that are, again, caught into a world that they may not want to be there. And it's a lot of being validated for their body as opposed to who they are as a person. And so there were so many girls that we talked to that wanted to get out, and they couldn't because they were just completely stuck. But that's, you bring up an interesting thing about the porn industry, because when men will see pornographic pictures and then want their spouses or their girlfriends to look like that, or to wear that kind of an outfit, or to perform that way. And, my first, boyfriend in college was that way. They thought nothing of watching, pornography. And it was so humiliating, because we just can't live up to that standard. And it's not about, sex is supposed to be this beautiful thing, and it's a very intimate thing. And we bring, in the best case scenario, we bring our personality, and we bring who we are. And when we're so focused on the clothes that we're wearing, and the lighting, and the positions, and all this kind of stuff, it's no longer about each other's heart. It's no longer about being, together as a couple. It's more about behavior. It's more about performance. It's more about looks, and you're completely missing the point. And then you come away feeling, very empty. So, but then again, so if we go back, out of the bedroom and back into the bar, the way that we're dressing, there is that, I want to dress up and look cute, and I want to look nice. But then if I do that, then I might be accused of, flaunting it, or I might get attention that I don't want, but then I don't want to have to walk around in a sackcloth. And then, so there's just all this,
The gunny sack dress.
right.
You don't want to wear that?
No.
So one time I was sitting in a bar in Nebraska and minding my own business, and a gal sat down next to me. And so I'm just minding my business because I'm waiting for some people to show up, and she starts talking to me. So I'll engage in conversation with pretty much anybody because I'm fascinated by people. And so we're just talking this, that, whatever. And so my friends came, and we were going to get a booth in the bar. And so she wanted to know if she could come along. I'm like, sure, why not? I don't know you. I still don't even know who the person was. That was the only time I met her. But she comes with us and kind of hangs out with the night with us. And then we end up at somebody's house playing games and stuff. And she just kind of tagged along. And I have no idea who this person was. So at the end of the night, it was time to go. And she wanted to, go on to the next thing. And I wasn't feeling it. I'm like, I'm going home. I got to work the next day, and I was working I had to be up at 3 a.m. Because my shift, I was doing morning radio. And so I had to get there early. And so I was like, whatever. But I asked the question. I don't know why I asked the question, but I said, hey, so assuming you want to take this further, maybe into the bedroom, whatever, at what point did you become interested? And she looked at me square in the eye and said, the moment I sat down. That was her agenda. And so I'm thinking,
wow.
I don't even know her. She was a stranger.
Right.
Had no. So
she had an agenda to pick you up.
I guess. But the point isn't that I was getting picked up, even though I fed my ego huge. But is that the intention sometimes when you're getting ready, you're going to go out, you look for somebody, and then your intention is to go after that person? Is that something that's in the mind of women as they're getting ready to go out? Is a guy a mark? And because after that, there was, never saw the person again. Maybe if
that's the attention of a lot of guys, right? The agenda of a lot of guys to go out and find somebody.
Well, sure, it's attention of everybody, I would imagine.
Right.
But see, it's more expected. It's more. I guess it's more expected from guys,
right,
to want to have, if you call it a one night stand or a booty call or hook up. Mm-hmm. Because guys are just more visually that way and they're fine with it. Well, women are a little bit more emotionally attached. But I guess that's not the same.
It's a myth to think that men are.
What?
Not emotionally attached. I think we give a part of ourselves every single time. Now, are women's emotions different than men? Yes. And do we experience things differently? Yes. But there are women that have that agenda. I'm going to go out and find somebody and I'm going to go hook up tonight. I think that's a very lonely way to go, honestly. But because look, every decision that we make, we're leaving a part of ourselves everywhere we go. And we talk about decision making in the other show. If we want to be a person of discipline, if we want to be a person of character, that we're going to make decisions that are going to take us far in life, then it's those immediate pleasures that we have to pull back on sometimes. And, whether it's, how much we drink or how much we smoke or having sex, with one night stands, it all erodes our soul. It all feeds into our character. It gives us a sense of numbness in a certain way, and we're callous to it. So then when you do come to a relationship that is serious, there's a part of you that's missing. There's a part of you that you've given away to 1 or 2 or 10 or 20 other people that you're never going to get back, and your spouse is never going to experience that part of you. So we just, people need to decide what type of a quality of relationship they want to have when they get married. And if they want to have that tight quality relationship, discipline is certainly a part of it. Discipline with eating, discipline with drinking, discipline, any type of pleasure is going to affect our how we handle those pleasures in life. Is going to affect our future relationships and our future thought processes and our character and our decisions and all of that kind of stuff.
So then, getting back to the dress idea, what would you say to the middle school, the younger ones that are really kind of impressionable, that are, you talked about looking at, the Kardashians and these people, the magazines and the perfection that they're chasing. Mm-hmm. What would you say to them that are sitting there and trying to chase that perfection, and maybe they're dressed in a certain way that maybe they're not comfortable with, but they feel like they have to do it? Maybe they're peer pressured into it because their friends are doing it and things like that. How would you approach someone that's an impressionable young woman like that in that type of environment when she's trying to chase that perfection that she sees everywhere? and feels like she has to dress a certain way or be a certain way to attain that.
Yeah, I hope that she would have some strong women around her to kind of show her that that's not where it's at. That when we focus on the perfection of the physical as a way of being accepted and validated, we're going to miss the mark every single time. And at some point in our life, it's going to break down and not work anymore, because we get older, we age, we get wrinkles, we get, our boobs fall down to our waist. And so it's just not going to work anymore. It's not something that we can count on. It's hard because it's everywhere that we look is this beauty, and we want to be accepted too. We want to be looked at too. But that is not a healthy way. It's not a healthy focus to go through life, because at some point when we are in a relationship, we want to be a person that is going to be taken care of and take care of the other person. And so we've got to really develop our character and get our mindset on the fact that life can be a beautiful thing. But when we're so focused on the physical, it just takes us down to this endless cycle of beauty products and surgeries and clothes, and we just never feel like we're enough ever. And we just never feel like we're enough, or we never feel like we hit the mark. So there has to be, beauty products can be fun, and clothes are fun. I love clothes. I love vintage clothes. I love shoes. I've got like 80 pairs of shoes or something, because I just love shoes. But it's not it's not where I get my identity. It's not where I get my validation. It's not where I get my satisfaction. Is just an accessory, something that's fun. But when we start putting our focus on that, we are going to lose. Because then if we see a guy and it's like, okay, that guy's really hot and I want him to look at me, and he brushes us off, it's like, okay, what didn't I do? Where did I miss the mark? Well, you're missing the mark in putting all of your focus in the way that you look, first of all, because when you're in that relationship and somebody loses their job or gets cancer, it's not your looks that's going to get you through that relationship. It's your character. And it's the way that you are able to put yourself aside and help out that other person. And looks have nothing to do with that. So it's hard. We put such a focus on beauty in society that we give people who are beautiful more credit than other people, which is sad. But it's that is not what takes you. Beauty is not how you problem solve. Beauty is not how you are a good leader and a good boss, and how you relate to your coworkers and your neighbors and your family. There's so much more in depth that we need to have in us. And so it's just, I got to the point, actually, because I was getting so caught up in that. I don't look at the magazines. I don't buy the magazines. I just kind of turn all that off as much as possible, so I don't get sucked into it anymore.
There's a friend of mine wrote a book talking about self-worth, and she self-published it, kind of like some of the things that you've done. And I remember reading the stories in there where she was trying to find her self-worth in a lot of things outside of herself. Mm-hmm. Appearances, relationships, job, accomplishments, things like that. And as you read it, you started to get an idea that it wasn't until she got to the point where she realized that the only person that can give her the self-worth that she wanted was herself. Mm-hmm. She could only find her self-worth truly in herself, because all the other ones were just kind of fleeting. The boyfriends would come and go. The job might come and go. The successes might come and go. And if she was valuing herself on those kind of tangible things, she would rise with the high, but then she'd go low with the lows. Mm-hmm. And fall into those depression and things like that. And then the abusive relationships and those type of things too. But it was interesting then talking to her after the fact, because she wrote the book, I read it, and then I talked with her, and she was telling me about kind of the mind change that she had to have. And she had to start realizing that herself, looking at herself through her own eyes, her own lenses, was the only way to kind of really get that self-worth out there. So as you've kind of gone through the gamut, just kind of listening to some of the things you've been saying from the earlier days up until now. Mm-hmm. How has your self-worth, or how you value your self-worth, changed over the years?
Yeah, that's a good question, because my self-worth was just pretty much in the tank for many, many years. And a lot of those bad decisions came out of that, trying to satisfy that self-worth. So, I have always, gone to church and I've always been a believer, but I've never really entrenched myself in what God says about me. And so when I finally allowed God to say, you are worthy because I created you and you are beautiful and I created you, flaws and all, exactly this way. When I finally accepted that and I can look in the mirror and not see every single flaw in my body and every single flaw in my face, and I let him tell me that I'm valuable and I'm worthy and I'm beautiful because he created me exactly this way. That's when I started to let go of this horizontal need for acceptance and this horizontal need to be validated by other people. Now people can say things, they can look, they can not look. It doesn't matter one way or the other to me because I know who I am in Christ. And so for me, that has been the key because I can't, self-help is kind of an oxymoron because if I got myself into the trouble, I'm probably not going to get myself out of the trouble. And if I can't validate myself and give myself self-worth because I didn't choose to be here on planet Earth. I just popped into existence. And so I have no idea why I was created or what my purpose is. I can't give that to myself. I can only get it from, the God who created me. So I've learned to let go of what I think of myself and accept what he says of me. And that has helped me tremendously. I no longer... I'm not going to lie. I obviously, I'm sitting here in makeup, so I'm obviously not forgetting, letting go of everything. But I don't stress about it. It's not my idol anymore. I don't get dressed in order to turn people towards me or away from me. I don't use it as a defense mechanism anymore. I don't use it as a mask anymore. So that has really helped me a lot. And that allows me, now I'm married, but if I were single, that allows me to go into, a bar or to a situation, dress the way, presentable and cute and whatever the way that I want to, and not have to worry about, do people like me or do they don't based on the way that I'm dressed? And should I show more cleavage and should I not? I've been through way too many things in my life to want to be with someone who is so attracted to my physical that's the only thing that's holding us together. There's got to be a lot more substance there behind it. But it's hard to let go of that, honestly. It's really hard because like I said, every time we walk into a room, we're judging each other. I still do. I still look at okay, you should not be wearing that outfit. Or there's other women, I'm like, oops, she made the mark. Let me see if I can sneak a picture so I can memorize it and go get that outfit. We just do that. It's sad, but we do it. And sometimes I'm staring okay, tan shoes, brown pants, and I'm totally memorizing their outfit so I can go get it because I'm that looks so good. But it's a fun thing for me now as opposed to if I don't look like that, then I'm I'm getting voted off the island.
It's not an obsession.
No.
See, I find that fascinating because I wake up in the morning and I don't care what anybody says. I'm just going to get dressed, wear what I want that's comfortable, wear what I want. And my standards, whatever I've done, and mainly work related, but whatever I've done, my standards have always been higher and my expectations of me have always been higher than that of the job or that of my employers or things like that. So I've never really cared because one, I can't control what people say. Mm-hmm. And two, frankly, I don't care what they say because I'm confident enough in myself. Now I might be unique enough to be in that perspective, to have that perspective and be confident enough, but I don't care what people think. They can talk all they want, don't care. But one of the things I wanted to ask you about, because I find it fascinating, because you're not the first person in the last few weeks that have said this. You talked about looking in the mirror and seeing flaws. Mm-hmm. Okay. I was in a classroom one time and I was talking to a student and I was trying to promote the radio program here on campus. And she was wanting to be a singer. So I was asking her about her experience. And then she started talking about how she doesn't like to get up and sing in front of people because of the way she looks. Now, I think she's 18, 19, just a young kid, and cute young gal. And I was asking, well, what's wrong with your looks? I don't understand because, like I said, I didn't really notice anything. And she started going into detail about the space between her nose and her upper lip and how it's too big. And then how this eyebrow doesn't really align with this eyebrow, and this cheekbone is a little different than this cheekbone. And I'm like, dude, you are really micromanaging or microanalyzing the way you look. If you just step back and look at yourself, you would see that maybe the people on the outside looking at you don't see that, even though you see that yourself. Okay, so then I had the conversation with her teacher, kind of told her about it, because maybe whatever. And she said the same thing. She's like, yeah, all women look in the mirror and they see their flaws. And then she said that's why she doesn't look in the mirror. And so I've had about 3 or 4, and now you. So why? I mean, because I look in the mirror and I don't really care. I mean, I'm looking to see, did I shave straight? Do I, whatever, I don't really care. But I guess that is a big thing, is your own perspective of how you look. And how do you overcome that if you have a negative feelings about the way you look? Because I was trying to tell this girl, hey, you're a cute gal, I don't see anything wrong with you, but she was adamant that she had issues. And so I just, let it go. How do you overcome that?
So again, it doesn't sound like she had a lot going on the inside to carry the outside, because every single human body is flawed. So we have to be confident on the inside. And when we are confident on the inside, when we do, for me, when I get my worth and my value, from God, then I don't have to I don't worry so much about that. But here's the thing, is that every time, like I said, every time we turn on the TV, or especially in magazine covers, especially now with Photoshop and all of that, if somebody doesn't look right in a picture, they touch it up and they Photoshop and they fix it. And so we are looking at fixed photographs of people who are absolutely perfect. And then we look in the mirror at ourselves and we're like, okay, we're not perfect. And so I know the last time that we recorded, the first thing I remember the first thing I said was, oh, my eye, right? Because my right eye is smaller than my left. Sometimes it's not that noticeable depending on how I do my eyeshadow, and sometimes it's really noticeable. And that particular day, it was like, whoa, man, it's like, so, it's hard. So you want to hear my list of flaws? Look, I have a bald spot underneath here that was there from birth. My eyes are 2 different sizes. One ear sticks out, one ear lays flat. My legs are longer than the other. One boob's like a B and one boob's a C. I have a kidney in the front, and so I will never, ever, ever have a flat stomach because one of my kidneys is in the front instead of in the back. I have all of these like weird things, about my body, but I learned to look in the mirror and just to say, okay, I'm beautiful. Am I perfect? No. Am I, up to the standards of what society says is, perfection? No. But I learned to accept the way that I was, because I wasn't getting that self-worth from myself. I was getting it from God. And I kid you not, there are women who I have looked at and been like, oh my gosh, but they are the most lovable, joyful, beautiful women because they accept who they are. And they're not anywhere near the standard of what, we have beauty in society, but they're so magnetic and people are so drawn to them because they are confident in who they on their inside. And those, to me, the women are the greatest women on the planet. Is like, it doesn't matter what they look like if they're just exuding, this confidence from the inside. And so that is the journey that we are all on, unfortunately, as women, that, we have to overcome this. We have to deal with this issue of beauty because that's what society gives us. It's in our face constantly. Everywhere we turn, it's just these perfect women. And so it's hard to look at that and then not judge yourself. And I will confess, I'm not perfect at this. I will confess that sometimes when I'm looking at people on my phone, I will zoom in. I'm like, okay, are both of their eyes the same size? Because it bugs me that, why do I do that? It's stupid. It's stupid. Like, that's just who cares if they're 2 different sizes? But because we're so bombarded and it's a daily thing for me that I have to accept. I'm like, it's okay, but what my flaws are, it doesn't matter, because I shouldn't be judging myself or judging other people and they're not even flaws, they're beauty marks. So why am I, why are we so down on that? But it's just because it's so in our face all the time. And there's surgeries that say, oh, we can fix that. There's makeup. Oh, we can fix that. You don't have to walk around looking like you look. We can fix it. So why? So, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, we can't get away from it. So it's a battle. It is a very big battle. And so then if we are insecure, the skirt's shorter, the top is lower, sometimes that's how it's an easy way to get validation, to put on a nice outfit and to know that you look cute and be like, okay.
So as we wrap things up, it's almost like things we've talked about in the past. When we talked about what is the measure of your success, who's defining your success? Is it you or is it somebody else? When you're talking about decision making, what are the influences that are people putting on you for that decision? And I guess it would be the same maybe with the self-worth is who is defining your self-worth? Is it society? Is it somebody else? Or is it you? And I guess that's the question that you probably just each person has to answer for themselves is where are you getting your self-worth? What are you doing? What is your reason for those, thoughts and things that are going through? And ultimately, you're going to have to decide for yourself. But I'll give you the last word on it.
Yeah, if we're looking horizontal for that self-worth, it is going to go sideways every single time. And thank God my husband, it tells me, because I feel, we all have the same body for years and years and years and years and years. So of course you're going to zero in on your flaws. Thank God he's always told me, I like you just the way that you are, and you're beautiful just the way that you are. And I love, you're the way that you look. And so, men, that's the greatest gift that you can give to your women, because the women we need to know from our men, am I acceptable and am I measuring up? And we don't want to know that just in the bedroom. We don't want to be the greatest thing since sliced bread in bed, and then in the kitchen, the next day, all of our flaws are hanging out. During the daytime is when we need to hear that we're beautiful, and during the daytime is when we need to know that it's okay to be less than perfect and not measure up. And that gives us a lot of confidence and a lot of self-esteem as well. But anytime that we beyond, our person, anytime that we're trying to get that validation horizontally, it's always going to go wrong, because everybody has a different opinion. And it just kind of goes back to our decision, making process. It's like, are we going to decide to be people of substance, or are we going to decide to go for that superficial success? And it's a hard it's a hard road to navigate, but that internal substance and that internal character, and for me, that vertical worthiness and acceptance, from my relationship with God has made all the difference. And now I can put on an outfit and be like, woo, this is so fun. And I'm not going to lie. I'm like, yeah, okay, I got some looks that made me feel good. Sometimes I get honked out when I'm running. I'm not going to lie, but it's not my idol anymore the way that it used to be.
But it still feels good.
It still feels good.
Well, this is 2 Steps Ahead, highlighting the shit we've stepped in so you don't have to. You can follow us on Instagram at 2 Steps Ahead. Also, my personal Instagram is at EdomRocks, EIDEMROCKS.
And Tara Hokeshiro, TaraHokeshiro. Thanks
for listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye, guys. Thanks.